Hello everybody, welcome to day 25 of my daily vlog challenge. Trust you're well. I'm just looking at my clock, so I think it's 8:30 in the evening, so this is a bit of a late one. I've had health appointments today, I went food shopping and I was exhausted, so it's been quite a quiet day today in terms of activity. And so I'm desperate to get out, as in there's mountains with my name on right now, open moorland, boggy McBogfest. I don't care, I need to get out. I'm getting cabin fever. So a trip to Morrison's wasn't quite what I wanted, but it was needed, so such is life, hey. So yes, back home, and what I thought today I would have a chat about is what I do exercise-wise to prepare or to keep myself going to do with hiking. So not just really every day, but with ME it's quite tricky to balance the activity levels you have, and ever since I've had ME it's completely transformed everything that I've ever lived with knowing about exercise. So I thought it would be quite handy for those that have got ME, and also, to be honest, if you don't have ME, I think a lot of these principles actually apply. It's just I think the context that you apply them to are quite different. So hence you have to give a context sometimes to situations, I think, in order for things to make sense. So that is the reality of where I'm at, so I may as well just be open and go, well, this is what I do, bearing in mind that I have health conditions that prevent me from doing the things that I would really like to do. So I'm sat on my exercise mat, and this is where you'll find me doing a lot of exercise at home, just because it's easy, it's on the floor, so a lot of exercises that I'll do are floor based, as in laying down, sitting down, because I have orthostatic intolerance. If I'm not careful, I get very dizzy and I just can't do as much when I'm upright, so I can cope with things laying down. It doesn't wear me out as much, so a lot of what I do is either sat down or laying down. And the principles that I'm working towards at the minute is trying to think of, well, what can I do when I'm at my worst of my ME, because I'm not at that stage now, but over the winter there were days that I was hardly getting out of bed, and how can I increase movement and perhaps do some exercises that will follow through throughout the activities that I want to do. So an example being, I don't know, I want to make sure that I can get in and out of a tent. So that means I'm bending a lot. So I'll do some exercises maybe now that will be core strengthening, maybe lunges, something. But how can I incorporate those kind of movements into, on a really bad day when I'm barely getting out of bed? Are there things that I can do in those moments where I can maintain some of the strength that I'm building up at the minute? Because what I'm tending to find is I have my worst moments of ME and then it gradually just wavers up, and that's fine, but it means that I'm not really doing much until I get to a certain level. I feel like it's very difficult for me to know what to do in those initial, beyond being in bed, or even on those days I think there is capacity in me to do something, even if it's not revolutionary. I still feel like there's ways that I can really take a movement or exercise and really strip it back and build it up. So, and I'm not there yet. I'm having a physio as part of the ME service and working with her to try and work out what that looks like in person. The reality is, though, that I do come up with this barrier that everybody assumes that as soon as you even touch an exercise bike, oh, it's going to cause you to have an ME crash. I am going to throw an exercise bike at somebody one day. in my head, in my thoughts, because I get really frustrated when people don't understand. When I tell someone, no, this is not going to cause me to have an ME crash, because I wouldn't be getting on this bike. If I wasn't well enough to get on this bike, why would I get on this bike? And actually a bike is a bad example anyway, because you wouldn't catch me on a exercise bike in a gym at the minute, just because I think there is a big risk that I could end up having an energy crash, because I think it is just beyond where I'm capable of at the minute. But as you'll notice, I'm quite capable of moving around. I'm quite capable of lots of other things. And it's one of those things that just don't cause me to have such a body stress response in exercise that it sets me back. And I half win on those. Most of the times I would say I'm pretty on it. I don't have those big setbacks, because I think I've just learnt. But as I say, what I'm finding difficult is the extreme ends. So I know where I'm at now, and I know what I do now is unlikely to cause me to have a setback, but I feel like I'm trying to learn how I can adjust what I'm doing each day. And the thing that's definitely carried me well over the last, say, year or so, even whilst I've been trying to work this all out, is one of the key things I realise that causes me to have a setback or even a full-on crash is pressure. I felt as soon as my body is under pressure, that is when I'm at risk of having setbacks or having long-term impacts on my health. And exercise does put pressure on your body. That's the whole point of it. So it is tricky. I'm not going to lie, it is tricky. But one of the things that I found is, because I know that it's about pressure, as soon as I feel a sense of pressure, I can just ease off or stop. And that is exactly how I can get up mountains, because I can just go, okay, well, I'm just going to go up that bit. I'm not going to look at the top of the mountain and go, oh, I'm going to get you. I mean, I might do, but for me, it's all about, I'm going to go to there, rest. I'm going to go to there, rest. Do that for a few hours. You'd be surprised where you end up. Rather than this sense of push, which is a complete flip of who I am as a person, because I do just have get up and gone. I don't need any motivation at all. I honestly I've just always been someone who really enjoys activity. I don't feel the need to be busy. I don't see the point in making things more difficult than they need to be. I'm just an active person. And if it involves the outdoors and a specialist piece of equipment, you can count me in most circumstances. And even now, I still feel that completely. I don't think that will ever change, but the context and how that looks like in reality, you're not going to get me. I'm not going to climb up Mont Blanc, but I could still use my skills and use my ability to do some small mountaineering. So I don't think it's about necessarily always holding back loads. I think there is so much you can do, but that's kind of the end goal. So I think I am still trying to focus today on more of the, well, what am I doing now then? Sat on a floor, I'm not climbing anything, am I? So what I tend to do when I'm at home, or on days that are more focused at home exercise rather than out, is I do more core and strength building. I think that's the easiest thing to do. So where are they? So one of the things that I've been trying to use is resistance bands. I'm a little bit new to all of this, to be honest. I used to use resistance bands many moons ago when I was doing conditioning for dancing. So there is some memory of stuff that I should be doing, but I'm asking the physio that I'm seeing for a bit more guidance on what I should be doing with these, because I don't know. For some reason, something in my brain and my body isn't connecting what I should be doing with these. And the issue is just taking on any old, I'll look on YouTube and just see what there is, opens a whole minefield of just opportunities, and I'm just wary of doing things like that will take me and carry me away into places that I shouldn't be going, because I don't have the health I need to be building up, or I need to be just careful that I don't overdo it. I'm acutely aware of that, so I definitely am finding it a challenge. But one thing I am using is I'm using a resistance band to do some arm stretches, because I want to get rid of my bingo wings. Apart from the focus on functionality of hiking, camping, while camping, outdoors, climbing, you name it, it is that the only thing that I'm doing targeted on my body that I'd like to tone is my arms, because I know that I really enjoy doing a plank. I think if I was saying about trying to find continuity throughout all of my experiences of ME in the stages that I have within recovery and even in the bad times, and the plank has been the only thing that I would say has been consistent, and that is about building core strength. And so I'm not so worried about my tummy. I mean, I would rather I didn't have a massive stomach, but I know that that will help, and I know engaging my core and the just general activity should all help within that. Whereas in terms of targeted, I'm trying not to take on too much. I would like to improve my whole body if possible. I'd like to be slim and trim, tall, and yeah, I think the person that I'd like to be physically is a bit unrealistic. So for me, it's just okay, well, let's focus on one thing and just do that. And yeah, using resistance bands to get rid of the bingo wings would be lovely. So yeah, I think I've summarised that enough. I don't quite know how I've just managed to do this, but I've done a time lapse of me talking instead of me actually talking to the camera. I feel like that's probably a good indicator that I should just try and keep this concise. Very difficult when you're knackered at the end of the day, but we'll give it a best shot. So I've talked about resistance bands, I've talked about, hopefully, if I've recollected, the desire to have continuity, that on my bad days to the good days that I can step up the types of movement that I'm doing, and it might be things like keeping a bit of resistance on my legs. So for example, when I'm laying down a lot during, say, the winter months where I'm very sedentary, you can lose bone density, and also being upright is good for your body. So I might use the resistance bands, I think, this winter to try and keep a bit of resistance on my feet, so that because I'm not upright, I'm not getting the resistance, if that makes sense. So it's trying to think of, well, I'm clearly getting that now, but how can I get that when I'm not well? So it's just trying to think around things, but the problem is I just don't know what exactly, and that's why I'm seeing a physio that can hopefully help me come up with these plans. In terms of moving forward, so if I haven't talked about a plank, I have to. That's been a revolutionary exercise for me. Throughout the whole of last winter, I made sure I did a plank, and 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and it was enough for me to see me through the winter, and it meant that I was keeping some core strength. What I really loved also is that I was given this video that the physio pointed me towards, and what I really loved about it was it tells you to do the stretch and it tells you to stop as soon as you feel the stretch, and that is exactly how I feel exercise for me works best, is as soon as I get to that point of feeling it, stop. And so I'm the same with a plank and any other exercise. I've incorporated that in, and I'm really glad that I don't push, because I think that is that will set me back a lot, and I'll end up just going out in circles, and that's not going to do my body or my headspace any good. I won't be able to achieve the things that I want to achieve. So yeah, so that's definitely something that's incorporating. In terms of going to the gym, so I think I am almost ready to join a gym again. So I've taken a pause because I'm wary. I don't want to be taken on a regime that's gonna make me unwell. But I'm pretty sure a rowing machine and swimming are the two activities outside of home exercise is something that I could do regularly. I wouldn't mind getting, I'm sure Herbert would really love this, getting rid of that unit and putting a folding rowing machine would be revolutionary in my life. However, I think sometimes getting to a gym has a bit more of a social element, and I might just have to accept that having a rowing machine in my life probably isn't the biggest priority right now. And there are gyms that have rowing machines, and they also have a swimming pool. I mean, where can I go swimming? In my bath? So, you know, I can't do every activity, exercise in my flat. So I'm making the most of what I can do in here, but I'm thinking ahead of going, okay, well, there's definitely two things that I think I can do in a gym that's not going to wear me out. Do some rolling around the floor, stretchy, limmy stuff, and do the rowing machine and swimming. I think that's pretty much what I'm going to be aiming for. I do have leg issues at the minute, so I'm trying to work out on hard surfaces. So I'm finding at work it's been really, really tricky. My legs go numb and I walk like a duck, and it's excruciatingly painful. And my legs swell up, and it's just, something's definitely wrong with my legs. I'm being investigated through the compartment syndrome. Well, I've been trying to convince them maybe it's just a bad case of shin splint. But basically, some of my ligaments and muscles are definitely unhappy. And so I'm trying to find, I'd love to get back into trail running is basically what I'm trying to get at. And I tried to go for a very, very tiny jog walk around the block, and yeah, it set off all my leg issues. I was like, yeah, well, that's not going to work, is it? And I don't think the amount of stretching or prep is going to resolve that. I think the reality is my body and hard surfaces just shouldn't get together. But on soft ground, and I don't find it walking on soft ground doesn't have the impact on my legs. They get tired, but I don't get the inflammation and the pain that I do when walking on hard surfaces. So I think there is potential to take up some trail running. I found it interesting because on my charity trip, I always refer to this, it was quite a revealing trip for me. I think I learnt an awful lot about myself, and I remember making a comment as I was walking down Keswick, down the mountains, and saying, oh, I think, what was I saying? Something about a lovely spring fresh evening. Perfect for a trail run, if that's your thing. I basically spoke of trail running as if it wasn't part of me, and I just remember walking going, hang on a minute, I used to trail run, is there any reason why I shouldn't be trail running? And you know when you think something, think, oh, hang on a minute, I've said something and it stirred something anyway, and I feel like, yeah, I could get back into some kind of light trail running. And I am likely to have to think about, well, how do I measure when my body's under pressure when I'm running? I expect I probably will be using a fitness watch. I've been looking to get the Instinct 2, the small version, a Garmin watch. They do the body battery, which I think would be really handy. They do the pulse reading, and they also have map reading, navigational aids. But they're not over-the-top navigational aids. They're more navigational aids of, you plan your routing, and if you go off course, it beeps at you as if to say, are you sure about that? And that's exactly what I need from a navigational aid. I don't necessarily want a full-on map on a watch. And I think the functions of that watch might help me doing the more, I won't say serious, but cardio and potentially quite stressy exercises that get my full body going. So trail running, and even maybe seeing how I go with swimming and rowing machine, because they're all just things a little bit beyond what I would be doing now. So that's definitely what I'm aiming for. And I'm just trying to come up with a bit of a plan. And I'm sure I'll get there. But I'm just gonna de-stress, do some stretches on this floor, and then head to bed, I think. It's been a long old day, and I've got another health appointment tomorrow. Feels a bit never-ending. I've had health appointments every week for the past, 8 weeks. It's bonkers. But I'm under good care, and just have to take as much care of my body as I possibly can, and go from there, I think. I will see you tomorrow.